me. Good morning.
Good morning, Amici, and good morning, dear listener. I think we should start from Osun State. We congratulate the brand new governor for he fought the last time. He didn't get it, and now he's there as governor. And you see, that's what we keep saying, Amici. Government is continuum. It's a continuous process. We do not need to give ourselves that stress. I'm talking about the SY governor now, Oyetola. Why the rush to appoint permanent secretary, 30 of them, in the 48 hours, 24 hours to your exit of office? Why the rush to do certain things when you know you can just hand over this to the incoming governor and say, these are persons that I think they are qualified to be PAMSEC, and let the incoming governor use his discretion. Because
and what we are hearing is that the PAMSEC had never been appointed. He worked without PAMSEC. But 2 days before he left, he quickly appointed PAMSEC. Is that not being mischievous?
Well, you see, I think we are undoing ourselves in Nigeria, Amici. We don't keep records, and persons that are supposed to help a government to succeed don't act swiftly. Probably this issue of PAMSEC have been on his table in the past 3-4 years, and other issues overshadow his take his attention, and his mind will not go there, and he'll just remember, this man has not signed this thing towards the end of his administration, and they'll rush to him and put him in trouble. We would like to hear from Oyetola. It's not over. What necessitated the hasty nature of giving appointment to 30 permanent secretaries? And if you look at it very well, Amici, some persons will say these are political. Is a political statement because he has promised to come back to contest the next 4 years.
He has one
tenure. So probably he's trying to put his stooge in public offices to frustrate the incoming government. But I don't think that should be how we want to develop Nigeria. We are all not weeping now, lamenting over the fuel scarcity, persisting hunger. Salaries are not paid as at when due. Pensioners are going spiritual over old pensions.
Apollo, Oyetola says he has one more term, and he's right. There's a peculiar thing that happens in the Southwest politics. Remember, former governor of Ekiti State, Ayo Fayose, was voted out after one term. He waited and came back and got it. Kayode Fayemi, also in Ekiti, lost one term. He came back and had it. The former governor
in Lagos too.
No, stay in Ekiti that came second during the last Ekiti governorship.
SDP.
He came back again. So there's this thing in the Southwest where if you still have one term, just maintain your structures, oil them, water them. You still have a chance. But Tevetiav, as he joins us, the issue not working with PAMSEC, and not just with not working with permanent secretaries. A lot of governors have refused to appoint commissioners. Rauf Aregbesola, for instance, in the same Osun State, did not appoint commissioners. And it's not just in Osun. There are many places they would rather appoint special assistants, personal assistants, the ones that will work with them personally. And now all the governors of the whole state is concentrated in the office of the governor. The bureaucracy is rendered prostrate and comatose. It's either they don't trust them, they will tell you you don't know who you're working with. They could be sympathetic to the other opponent. They could want to work for their pockets, and they will personalize everything, grinding governance to a stop. And when you look at the way we design our bureaucracy and our governance structure, you're not a sole administrator. You're not in the military era where you are the commander-in-chief appoints a military administrator and you now do and undo. We just have to find a way.
The governors wield a lot of powers.
Yes.
A lot.
We have to find a way of dealing with this problem.
Amici, good morning to you. Good morning, listener. Osun in particular is a peculiar state. Rauf Aregbesola was the first governor to have successfully done 2 terms. No other governor
in Osun
State has done 2 terms. You do the first term, in Yola, for instance, on the second term, they kicked him out. The court kicked him out, and all of that. So that state is a place to watch. Just like you observed, Rauf never had commissioners, and I think he eventually appointed them in the last days as he was leaving, and that's what we've also seen But it affected him because at the end of the day, he didn't have the political structure. People who can, be his foot soldiers. Now that
commissioners are the structure.
They are the structure.
Commissioners are political appointees.
Yeah, so it's a huge problem. It's a huge problem for him politically. But then, in this case, going by the structure of governance, as it were, the permanent secretaries are the accounting officers in the ministries, which means if you didn't have permanent secretaries, then who were the accounting officers
himself becomes the accounting officer.
So it's a huge, and
some of the function.
Even went ahead to conduct local government elections in the last days.
But the courts squashed that one.
They could possibly, just that the new government is coming, they would have gone on appeal,
So the new government will not appeal it.
I'm sure the new government will not appeal because they were the defendants in the matter. So, but our advice, Adeleke, good, he said he will be governor for all. What has happened has happened. If he wastes his time dealing with the past, he will fight with the past until 4 years are over, and he will discover that he has done nothing, and perhaps he'll be looking for what to tell the people if he is interested.
He said he will reconsider everything done in the past. He has started with the renaming of the state of Osun,
which was done by Rauf.
Rauf changed the state of Osun. Oyetola allowed it, but this one has said, let's revert. And Abulu, this point Teve raised, we always say a driver that keeps looking at the rear mirror will not make much progress. But here on this program, we also said you can't determine tomorrow without yesterday. History cannot be wished away. How can a politician, an executive office holder, balance these two? Going back to history to retrace wrong steps, or ignoring it and focus on your destination?
There is no harm in looking back to see what happened to correct the future. And for me, I think what Oyetola did is a slap on civil service, because a permanent secretary must grow through the ranks of a civil servant. You must be serving almost
careers
20
would have stagnated.
Yes, you must
for all this period. It's not fair.
And before you become a permanent secretary, you must have served like 20 years in the civil service, and then to rise to maybe 25 years before you become a permanent secretary. And it's done by examination. They do exam to qualify, like in the federal civil service, they do exam to qualify to be permanent secretary. What happened in the states, which means I, for one, would think that the head of federal civil service should have an oversight function in state service.
We have a federation, unfortunately.
Even though we have, so why were permanent secretaries just appointed? Did they go through examination? Didn't they conduct exam for them to test them?
Teve, when you go
so they had super directors that were running the ministries.
When you get to a state, you see that the governor's office, like I said earlier, starts and ends with everything. Even when they appoint to a commissioner, the highest you can get maybe 300,000 or 500,000 for Mr. Impress. And there's nothing that you can approve as you have to even look for the governor. And I can tell you, as we speak presently, there are in many states of the federation where the commissioner will want to see the state governor. For 4 days, he will be unable to see the governor because the governor does not have time for him or her. He's all around those people you see around the governor's office. They are totally in charge and they drive the process.
I mean, you see, we're talking Osun State today, but it's not peculiar to Osun. This issue.
Yes, it's nationwide.
This is being thrown up because there was no transition, and we usually don't have a transition if one party is handing over, another party is supposed to take over from another. It's usually a huge, a challenge, and the states. At the federal level, at least Goodluck Jonathan was able to manage it with then President-elect Muhammadu Buhari. But then across the states, it's a challenge. It's such that sometimes even within the same party, if it's not the candidate the governor wants and all of that, you see, this cannot. And I remember that there was this transition bill that the National Assembly was considering, so that it would be an orderly transition. from because like he said yesterday, practically nothing was handed over to him. He knows.
So he has to spend his first few weeks understanding the status of governance.
So it's a huge challenge. I'm sure if that was handed over or that process was on, this bitter rivalry or the way and manner he spoke wouldn't have been the way. I'm talking of the governor Adeleke now, the way and manner in which he spoke, because you could see the bitterness in the way he was. Frustration, not bitterness, frustration. That there was no transition in those, and all of that. So we need to perhaps revisit that bill if it has not been passed and signed into law. The next year, so that. And it should be criminalized.
Yes.
If you are able to.
The standard is the outgoing government sets up a transition committee, the incoming one sets up. And they will be, after meeting on their own, they will be having joint meetings. Weeks before handover, all documents telling you the status of whatever contract, how much have been paid, should have been concluded. It's not a personal thing. It's something that should be ordered.
It's for the public.
As we leave this matter to go on to the next one, we charge the new governor, Senator Ademola Adeleke. Yes, he danced himself to power. He can still afford to dance, but he has to work more than dance. Few dance, but more work.
Yeah, and Osun will be a state to watch. There are 24 members. There are about 26 members in the State House of Assembly. 24 of them are APC. Only 2 are PDP. And with the kind of outside influence that weighs on the politics of Osun State, there is so much more.
What do you mean by outside influence?
Well, you and I know.
I don't know.
You're talking about federal might because the APC is the federal government.
In the Southwest, we know the influence, APC, for instance, has in the politics.
You mean Bola Tinubu?
Come after you. In the politics of Osun, in other states, in other states like Imo, where you see members defecting from their party to,
and so
this might be a different,
different. And a House of Assembly election will be coming on March 11th.
And
so if I have a few months for Adeleke to manage that situation.
And if I were him, I work seriously for my party people to win the House of Assembly. If not, it's going to be hell on the
INEC office burned down in Izzi. We shouted that if we were in INEC, we would have read the situation, anticipated it, and moved in heavy security to protect. After the incidents in Osun and Ogun State, they promised us it will not happen again. It has happened in.
They didn't. They promised it to, but I remember the IGP, Inspector General of Police, had a briefing and said that security personnel are going to be deployed to these offices. We shouldn't be having such news at this hour. It's about 80-something days to election, and we still hear issues of INEC office being burnt. I think the governors, as I said, Amechi, these things happen in the states. The comments the governors make provoke the supporters. So they need to also caution the supporters, because this is not out of the blues. These persons are not unknown persons, as we say, unknown gunmen. So we should be able to track where these kind of things are coming from. Who has offended who?
Amechi, clearly, I think it's a challenge that INEC needs to think out of the box. Possibly sensitive materials throughout this period, it should not be placed in any of those offices, as it were. Just like at the so-called emergency meeting INEC had with the security chiefs, they said, look, they will deploy joint security. All INEC facilities. Clearly, that has not been done. That has not been done. So perhaps if that is done, we'll see if there will be attacks. If there will be attacks, I think there should be a form of a repair, and then we'll be talking about that. But clearly that did not happen. Even though some of the pictures and videos we've seen some policemen walking around, or maybe they came after
reaction.
The incident hadn't happened.
Maybe the deployment is only in the state INEC offices.
But there are INEC offices across.
Do they have enough personnel?
Civil defense.
The Nigerian state has to ask itself a lot of questions, and we raise those questions. The capacity of the state to assert itself and prove that it has monopoly over the use of firearms. We need to do a lot to prove that we own this country and the government will put in place is running the way we expect. Let's go for a break. When we come back, issue of budget padding, or will you call it budget fraud? Stay with us.
On your first
I like that. We own this country.
See, if you deploy military